Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the metal god from Judas Priest, and you're listening to the Ultimate Rock Podcast.
Doug, I don't know where you found this music, but Denny and I love it. It's got that grungy, Deep Purple vibe to it. I've said it before, I'll say it again.
I think I'm going to keep it for the opening.
Excellent job by you, sir.
Thank
that
you.
man over there, who I don't recognize today because he hasn't shaved, is Doug Kaplan, DAK, the notorious DAK, over there producing the podcast for us today. Denny Somack, legend, author, producer. I don't know. How long is your resume, Denny? About 16 pages?
Well, you know, like in this business, it's hard to keep a job.
And I'm Doc Reno. I work with iHeartRadio. I'm on multiple rock stations all across the country, rock and classic rock stations. And between the three of us, we do the Ultimate Rock Podcast. This is episode number 4. And today we decided we're going to talk about something that we're all three of us really, but especially Denny and myself, that we're super passionate about. And that is basically the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Who's in, who's not in, why are they not in? And it all started over a conversation about Rob Halford of Judas Priest and his book, Confess, which is now out, and I have said it once, I'll say it again, and I'll say it again. If Black Sabbath and Deep Purple are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and Metallica, to me, Judas Priest and Iron Maiden belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, because I think you said it, Denny. You said basically a long time ago when we had lunch a couple weeks back that, there is no Metallica without Iron Maiden.
Right. That's my opinion.
And there's a lot of people that would say that, even though Judas Priest and Black Sabbath are from like the Birmingham area, I think Black Sabbath's from Aston, and I want to say Judas Priest is from West Bromfield, or I think that's
sounds right. That sounds right.
That's how it's pronounced. I'm not for sure, but that's the Birmingham,
right,
England
the Midlands,
area.
I think they call it.
Yeah, the Midlands. Yeah. Thank you. And and Judas Priest started right, I think, a year after Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
So I mean, to me though, they had to be a little bit influenced by them. But when you think about all these like legendary heavy metal bands, for some odd reason, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is just not really kind heavy metal.
No.
And so. We're going to talk about that today.
It. So let me just
what
tell
do we
you,
have?
First of all, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame just announced that the 2020 induction ceremony will be held Saturday, November 7th at the Public Auditorium in Cleveland, and it's the first time the ceremony will be broadcast live starting at 8 p.m. So you'll be able to watch it.
Just to tell the listeners real quick, I'm originally from Cleveland. I've seen numerous concerts. First time I ever sat front row at a show was AC/DC, and the Back in Black tour. I was in front row at Public Hall at that particular show. I even have the concert poster still to this day. But that's a legendary place. It's where they always have the ceremony when it's in Cleveland. It's usually at Public Hall. And it's sad because just quickly here, 9 Inch Nails, Trent Reznor, Cleveland, the Nothing Records. That whole Cleveland start, and for him to get inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in his hometown, basically, and for COVID-19, and now the ceremonies, like everything else, it's going to be on television and viral, basically.
Well, Doc, we agree on that, the Iron Maiden Judas Priest thing. First of all, let me give you a little. As I said, no Metallica without Iron Maiden. I believe that. But you correct me, because I know you're a bigger Iron Maiden fan. They've sold over 90 million records.
Yes.
They played over 2,000 live shows.
Yes.
I've
seen half of them.
I don't know how many personnel changes. Anyway, I know you're good friends with Nicko because he's got a restaurant, right? You took me there one time.
Yes, we had lunch there. Rock and Roll Ribs in Coral Springs, Florida.
So let's play this. He talks about the first time he met the band, which I think was the early 80s.
When I first met the guys, they were all genuine down-to-earth guys. You know, it's their first European show in Belgium. I was on that same bill with this other band. Then 3 years later, I get offered a gig. And we went in and, we met in 1982. They offered me the job. 1983 was my official first gig with the band. The vibe was just so much fun. And, mistakes I was making, we were doing songs like Killers and Number of the Beast, Rothschild, Prisoner. So I did 5 songs and it was all over the shop, but we had so much fun. And that's the same today. When I get on that stage with the band, it's like 38 years ago, 36 years ago.
He's such a nice guy. He's one of the coolest guys. I'm actually pretty good friends with him. I have his phone number in my cell here.
Tell us about the club or the restaurant that he has.
Yeah,
I thought the ribs were great.
Yeah, the Rock and Roll Ribs. It's on the corner of 441 and Wiles, and in Coral Springs, Florida. You can look it up online. It's an amazing place.
Hey, guys, I hate to interrupt you, but I think we're getting a phone call.
Okay.
All right.
Hey, is this Doc Reno?
Yes, it is.
Hi, this is Dylan with Premier. How you doing?
Hey, good to talk to you. I'm with Denny Somack. How are you?
Hi.
Pretty good. Well, I've got Rob Halford for y'all.
So, did you say that there's somebody on the phone?
Yes, there is somebody on the phone.
Doc, I think you may have, but we're going to be having guests on from time to time. So.
Yes. But
ahead.
this guy, I'm really, really excited.
You're here with Rob whenever you're ready.
Okay, hey, we're ready. Rob, how are you?
Hello, Doc. I'm doing great, man. Good to speak with you.
Last time I talked to you, you interviewed with me years ago on Big 105.9 in Miami. That's my home station. It's really nice to talk to you. I'm here with rock historian and author Denny Somack, absolute legend over here. We're both big fans, and we appreciate you calling in on the podcast. It's so funny that you're calling in. Your book is out, Confess.
Congratulations on the book, by the way.
Yes, very, very. And I remember a couple years ago, you were like, I have no interest in writing a book. And now, all of a sudden, you changed your mind. What changed your mind?
I'm like the weather. I'm like the weather. One day it's like bright and sunny, next day it's like stormy. Not Daniel. But it's, something triggered in me. And I think more than anything, it was the guy that I put the book together with, Ian Gittings, who's well known for doing the heroin diaries with my friend Nicko. Ian, as it turns out, is a local guy. He was born and raised in practically my town, my neighbourhood. So that was really important for me, to work with someone that could really kind of grasp the roots of my life story, especially from where it began. And so I just went for it, and enough miles had gone under the bullet belt, and the time was right to start to its best.
Rob, this is Denny. I'm here with Doc, and I just wanted to ask you a couple things. As I said, congratulations on the book. Boy, is it long. It's thick. You tell every story. Anyway, I saw you at Live Aid.
Wow.
And what was that like? What was that like?
Oh, it's such a strong mental memory for us and for everybody that took part, and especially the glorious fans that just packed the JFK Stadium. I'll tell you what it was. It was a great example of humanity, helping everybody that was struggling as they were at the time, and they still are, in that part of the world in Africa. But look, you got Judas Priest, you got Madonna, you got Hall and Oates, I believe they were there.
Yep.
You got Mick Jagger, you got Tina Turner, you got Led Zeppelin. It was just insane. I mean, I was like a kid in a candy store, much like all the fans that were there, I dare say.
So I want to ask you.
It's a great ball.
Okay, I just want to ask you a question. I understand that you ran into Joan Baez.
Yes, I did. I was backstage.
And just for those that don't, of course, you covered, Diamonds and Rust. So what happened?
Yeah, she was walking towards me, and I go, "Oh my God, you're going to kick my ass." doing a bad job on her song. She comes up to me and she goes, "Rob," I go, "Hey, Joan." She goes, "I just wanted to come over and say that my son, who's a big heavy metal fan, a big Judas Priest fan, he thinks your version of his mum's song, Diamonds and Rust, is way better than his mum's version of Diamonds and Rust." I said, "How sweet is that? This big, gigantic lady who's just a phenomenal treasure could be so sweet and come over and talk about this song that Judas Priest covered.
We're on the line with Rob Halford of Judas Priest, joining us here on the Ultimate Rock Podcast. Denny Somack, I'm Doc Reno. Thanks for tuning in to the podcast today. Rob, I want to ask you real quick, when the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame allows fans, I've been a member. I was at the groundbreaking in 1993. I was at the grand opening in 95. And I went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame concert that they had with everybody from Bruce Springsteen to John Mellencamp to James Brown at Cleveland Municipal Stadium back in 95. And it was on HBO that day. I have been bitching and complaining on the radio for years that Judas Priest, and I even told Denny this before we started the podcast, that Judas Priest belongs in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Nobody did leather metal better than you guys. And I know that, you're from the same area as Black Sabbath. And I always say on the air, if Black Sabbath is in and if Deep Purple is in, Judas Priest belongs in, Metallica's in, Iron Maiden belongs in. And I know that, and I voted for you this last time because the fans are allowed to vote they go on rockhall.com and they place their 5 votes. And you guys always rank really high in the fan vote. But I don't get it where, for some reason, one way or the other, it doesn't happen. It doesn't work out for Judas Priest. I have to admire you for not being pissed off at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And just tell our listeners why it's like, you belong in, but you're going to cut the Rock Hall a little bit of slack. You actually respect the institution.
It's a little bit like the presidential campaign right now, isn't it? The public votes don't matter, do they? The people's vote doesn't seem to matter. I don't understand it. I really don't understand it. To me, something like this should be generated by the people because people are what it's all about. The rock and roll fans, metal fans, all of us. That's what we're all about, But I'm not gonna go off on it because it's a great place to be, and I know there's always pushback and opinions and critique about the Hall of Fame. I dare say it's the same for the NFL Hall of Fame, the NBA, all this kind of stuff. You just have to bide your time. Hey, here's the thing, guys. Please put us in while we're still alive. As much as I think it's worthy to induct somebody that's passed, wouldn't it be a lot better to have the people there, to have the band there, to play live, celebrate together?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's stick in. Yeah, let's get us in.
Well, just to change gears here a little bit, the first time I had a chance to see Judas Priest in concert, you headlined, the Scorpions played before you, and a very young, teenage, brand new band called Def Leppard opened up in Cleveland, Ohio, I believe, at the place where they have the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremonies, Public Hall in downtown Cleveland. I'm originally from there, and so that was the first time I've had a chance to see you. I was watching an interview of you a few days ago, knowing that Confess was coming out, your book, and I know you spoke at Lemmy's funeral, which I thought was just fantastic, the way it was handled, and you were great in that. But Lemmy asked you a question before he passed away on video, and I just thought it was awesome because you're the only rock star. What's that?
Let's quickly edit this through. So what was it that Lemmy said to me? Because I can't.
Yeah, Lemmy asked you, and you laughed. Lemmy asked you, so I'm stealing his question. What is one of the most embarrassing moments that you have had on stage, but not involving the motorcycle? I've fallen off my bike a few times, but I mean, what happened with you? Can you think of one?
Well, I've had my Janet Jackson wardrobe malfunction.
Oh, that's hilarious.
When I go out,
that is.
Things.
All right. Hey, well, listen.
Play.
That is absolutely outstanding. Rob,
thank you.
God bless and good luck with the book. Confess is out in stores, ladies and gents. Thanks, guys. We'll see you later.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye now.
All right, take care, Rob. There he is, Rob Halford of Judas Priest. One thing about this podcast, if you're listening to our podcast, this is number 4. We just kind of fly by the seat of our pants. So you get to hear all the behind the scenes stuff. That's what the bloopers, phones going off, me banging the table, me knocking over the microphone, everything else. That's what this, rock and roll is, I've said it 1,000 times, rock and roll is not pretty and neither are we. So let's get back to our Rock Hall.
Yeah, I wanted to mention my 2 guys.
How
I
cool
definitely
was that?
want to mention, that was great. It's like,
how awesome is that? Rob Halford calls out of the blue.
Right in the middle of the podcast.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So I want to mention a couple of people, Joe Cocker and Jethro Tull. Glaring omissions. It's like heavy metal. There's also a bias against progressive rock. Don't understand. Look how many years it took to get Yes in. But Jethro Tull deserves. And Joe Cocker, just for his voice and his interpretation, and one of the most amazing voices in rock. And neither of them are in there.
It's inexcusable on both fronts. My favorite Joe Cocker story is I introduced him in concert once. Mm-hmm. I'm never nervous. I can get in front of 20 people and be a little nervous. I get in front of like 20,000 and I don't miss a beat. But knowing that I was interviewing a shoe-in Hall of Famer, and I totally agree with you.
Right.
I was a little nervous when I had to introduce him, and he's standing right off the side of the stage. It was pretty intense.
Well,
anyway,
I talked to Ian Anderson. We talked a little bit about the Hall of Fame, and I won't go into it on this show. But we started talking, and this was right before they were getting ready to celebrate the 50th anniversary. And, he started to talk about his musical heroes. And I thought, that's really cool. I wonder who that is. Is it like Chuck Berry and Little Richard? So run this. This is Ian Anderson talking about his musical heroes.
Well, when I grew up in the '60s, as a teenager in the '60s, my musical heroes were all old guys. They were my father's generation, people like Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf and Sonny Boy Williamson, Sonny Terry, Brownie McGee, John Lee Hooker, T-Bone Walker, Mose Allison. I mean, these were already kind of middle-aged men, and my perspective on music in that career sense was that most of what I liked was being played by old guys or dead guys. And so it never
Like
seemed
today.
odd to me that I was
like
entering
today.
a profession where, when I reached that age, I would consider that I would be in my musical prime. So I've always had a very non-ageist view of music and musicians. It's always been about, age is absolutely immaterial when it comes to musical entertainment, and you can be 18 or 80.
Right.
And if you can still do the job,
The Rolling
age really doesn't
Stones.
come into it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure most of you girls feel the same.
Ian Anderson from Jethro Tull. He's always great to talk to. Just great storyteller.
you know what's sad about that? That Jethro Tull, there is no Jethro Tull now. So if you want to see a Jethro Tull show, if it's not Ian Anderson, then it's not happening. And he's one of those rare rock stars, Kenny, that without him, there is no Jethro Tull.
That's right.
There's certain guys, Van Halen can't pull off Van Halen without Eddie.
We know that.
Okay, and you cannot pull off a Jethro Tull unless you have Ian Anderson up there. One of the most unique rock stars in the history of rock and roll, that guy, and belongs in a rock hall.
Yes, very, very unique style. And I got to tell you something. When they do eventually, which they will, get inducted into the Hall of Fame, Ian told me that he's going to invite all 19-plus people that have ever been in Jethro Tull. And I thought, that's great. The only other person I ever heard say that was Chris Squire for years, said to me, when Yes gets in, we're going to have all 23 people.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's just like in professional sports. You get a 10-day contract in the NBA, you win the NBA Finals, you're getting a ring.
Yeah.
So,
anyway, I want to finally put in a word for Styx, because I think Styx should be in for this fact alone, and I don't know if you're aware of this. Styx is the only band, American band, I think, that has had 4 consecutive albums certified multi-platinum. Now think about that. 4 triple million sellers in a row.
wow.
The band hails
I
from
did not know
Chicago. And they did what most new local bands did. They tried to get a record contract when they started. There was a label in Chicago called Wooden Nickel. And the band was all set after JY, James Young, known as JY, joined on guitar, and that became Styx. And Doug, you've got the story from JY.
I was getting out of college at the time, and I just tried to put another group together, but I realized that I wanted to go out on my own, and with a couple other guys in college, their time would be limited, so I joined up with John and Chuck and Dennis and JC. About 2 months later, we decided to do a demo just kind of to get work, basically, to send around to schools and colleges and club owners and the like. And we did 3 originals and 3 copy songs, and RCA had a studio in Chicago. Wooden Nickel had heard this demo, and they decided that they liked what the group was doing, and they thought we could use a little different direction. And from there, Wooden Nickel signed us based on all this other stuff that had gone on the year and a half before that.
And then, of course, they had that big hit with Lady,
Right.
which was on their second album, not the first one. But there's a band that stuck it out through 4 albums, and then mysteriously this weird track called Lady from the second album. Dennis DeYoung happened to be in Chicago at WGN, and they agreed to play the record. Some disc jockey who liked it. It wasn't going to be a single. They were already working on their 3rd album. He puts it on the air. Next thing you know, thing explodes, crosses the country, the biggest hit.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to wrap up this podcast. Well, this one was interesting. We were flying all over the place. We had Rob Halford of Judas Priest, who has his autobiography out, Confess, and he called in to touch base with us for a few minutes, and that was very, very cool, like right in the middle of the podcast. But we don't give a damn because we kind of ad-lib this thing, even though we do have scripts just to keep us somewhat on track.
You have a script? I don't have a script.
And I highlight it, and I have numbers, and I have all this stuff.
Can I get one next time?
Here we go. After Nicko. See? Right there. All right. So that's Doug Kaplan, our producer. Thank you very much for getting Rob on the air for us. That's awesome. Denny Somack. I'm Doc Reno, the Ultimate Rock Podcast number 4.
More surprises next time.
Yes, we've got a few ideas. We'll be talking to you real soon. Keep rocking.